Sharing. Hi there, folks. I'm Mark Westfall. I work in the marketing department here at Schmalz, and I'm hosting the session for you. We have two presenters today. On the SCG product, it's Doug Frazier is going to start us off. He's our regional sales manager for vacuum automation, both for components and for systems in Minnesota, Wisconsin, the Dakotas, and Upper Michigan. And then following him, we're going to get Tim Bush involved, and he is regional sales manager for the same product lines for Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, and Oklahoma. We'll give people just a few more seconds to get on. And Doug, can you see my screen? Oops, Doug, I don't hear you.
See your screen.
You do see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Just want to make sure. Okay, and folks, as we go through the session, we're going to hold questions till the end. If you have a question that you would like to inject, you can do it through the chat in there, in the chat session, and submit it, and we'll get back to you. If I know the answer, I'll go ahead and answer, but otherwise, we'll let Doug hold off on answering questions until the end. At the end of the session, there will be a Q&A session where you can raise your hand and ask questions. So please let us know what you need as it goes on. Also, one last thing is there are some handouts attached. I think it's just one handout. It's a piece of literature that outlines the capabilities and the parts that are used for the SCG product line. And Doug, I am going to knock off my camera and you can go ahead and take over.
All right. Thank you everyone for joining us this afternoon. I appreciate you taking the time. We're just going to take 15-20 minutes of your time here and kind of introduce this product line to you for delicate products, things as composites, electronics, and of course in the food industry. What we're going to be looking at is a product called the SCG Flow Gripper, which is on the next slide. This is just going to give you a visual of what the product is that we're talking about. And as you can see on the bottom of each one of these, you're able to connect some type of cup or a piece to actually handle your product. On the next slide, what we're using for vacuum generation here is called a Quota Principle. I'm not an engineer, so I'm not going to get real deep into it. Plus, that's not the focus of this presentation today. But what it is we're using forced air at about 70 psi, and we're creating vacuum by running it over a guided piece of metal. And what that does is that creates a flow or a gap in it, and is causing the vacuum to lift the product. Feel free to reach out to any of your regional sales managers if you want more technical information on the product, or if you need to get a sample or something, they'll be able to produce that for you. At this point then, I'm going to go ahead and have Tim give you an explanation on intended use.
Hello, everyone. So the SCG is a specialty gripper. It's used in applications for high flow for opportunities. It's an integrated vacuum generator for gripping and handling flexible and unstable components. So it's also suitable for all applications that require a high suction volume flow, not a high vacuum, but a high flow type of valve. It's obviously very suitable for suction of porous materials such as foams, textiles, foil packs, fiber reinforced materials, and the like. Also for loose packaging applications and maybe even plastic wrap applications. Some of the benefits is that it doesn't have any movable parts, which makes it a low maintenance and immune to faults. So it's a very high volume and durable product. It can be installed at any position because it doesn't care about orientations. It also comes kind of with in some applications with a blow-off function, so you can actively position, pick up workpieces, and drop as accurately as possible. It can also handle neutral type gases, which is our inert gases. As far as air, nitrogen, argon, helium, neon, and other types of gases that could be used in this arena. Make sure we don't use it in an aggressive gas such as acids, and that's just it won't work for those applications. Next slide.
So most of the general applications we've kind of referenced already are the sensitive plastic parts, the circuit boards, textiles, and composite material. Because of the large flow and not the deep vacuum level, it's easier for it to handle that product. In the food industry, it's going to be something that's going to contact and be in the primary, mostly in the primary food processing. So the product will be touching things as cakes, waffles, muffins, all those types of things. This is a great alternative to compete with those folks that are doing things by hand handling muffins or potentially by needles. Needles are another form of way of handling some of these food products that are sensitive, but your customer may not be able to use needles, or they might damage the food. So the SCG with a food grade cup on it may give them an option to use vacuum to handle that product. Now we're going to go to the next slide where I'm going to reiterate the industries we're talking about, which is the food industry, electronics industry, and composites, glass, and porous applications. The food industry, in today's food industry, the vacuum technology is very important. There's need to go faster, which vacuum can do when you're handling either primary or secondary packaging. There's products that they can use to the food grade cups to ensure safety standards are met with the cups versus people handling or other methods. The food industry exacting demands on the suction cup material is used. The grippers provided the customers the ability to pick up the product directly without contamination. We're going to move on. I'm going to pass this over to Mark, and he's going to show you some videos of the three basic foods that I've talked about, just to give you a quick idea of what the different food products look like that we handle with the SCG in a food grade cup.
This one's got a little slow start here. Okay, Tim, this is yours, I think.
Okay, so in the electronics industry, this has always been a problem, using vacuum. This high flow device is actually an excellent opportunity to work with PCB manufacturers because of the increasing requirements of PCs to be used in multiple industries. Obviously, automotive is exploding in the use of chips and PC boards throughout the car and the applications of that. It's growing in aviation, and it's growing in many other areas and applications throughout automation. Even the semiconductor industry obviously is using more powerful chips and manufacturing processes and how they can manage their throughput of these chips and for boards of different types that they're building also. So next. So here's some just basic examples of the SCG and the printed circuit boards, how we can use a cup and the high flow of this and use it on circuitry where it doesn't damage that. It handles very structured, sensitive parts. Some of the newer product we have coming out, which is the SCG HSS, this is allowing some pin applications to come down and have some very highly structured board applications that can then come down and use that, and that curtain around that basically allows for a much higher flow suction capacity in that area. But the great part is that this high flow application is handling very delicate parts, as you can see from the food videos also. Next slide. So we have various sizes of these. So you have the main size, which is a 50 millimeter size cup application for the SCG. This small SCGS is a 25 millimeter application, and then there's a slim design on each one, so you can start stacking these together for picking up multiple parts. So you can stack these across the array of however you want to build this, and we'll show some videos going forward to show those examples. So here's some of the cups that can be used for the SCG and for multiple applications. So you have just standard end product that has more for a structured surface. You have the ESD and then the anti-static type cups. That's kind of critical as an additional support for electronic industry, where it will not create any static as it touches and moves with the circuit parts. This is more for food industry. This would be more of your Teflon, silicon type cups that can support and manage the food industry also. Next slide.
Hey, Tim. We had a question come in, and it seems like it's relevant to what you're speaking to. What is the air consumption rate?
So there's as far as the SCM, there's a flow rate of, I want to say it's 61 to 270, somewhere in that range. So it has a very good high flow that can support a lot of porous type materials. And maybe some of the videos will help you identify how that works, and then what kind of product it can work through that normal vacuum cups would not work for. So here's the start. This one is for the HSS. Our German counterparts can explain to you more about this product. So what he's trying to say is that his voice is not coming through. So he's explaining how this is for highly structured circuit boards, and he'll pick one up and kind of show you how they fit into the place. These little pins are that'll come in and adjust around the higher structured parts, and that'll create a better sealing area. So it basically helps lock in around the higher circuited components on the board, and then provide you a better sealing area without actually damaging or coming in and unleveling the suction or the flow of the device as it's being used. I think we can go to the next one.
Tim, I'm going to open up. Chris has a question here. Chris, your microphone's open.
When you said 16 to 270 some units, was that cubic feet per minute?
So it's 60. I think it's 61 SCFM up to 200 and 70 SCFM. So it's just a high flow application using around a 70 PSI compressed air source.
Okay, thank you.
If we can send you some more information in regard to, and there's more information that'll be provided to give you more of the specifications of the product.
The reason for my question was, you know, air is money and people are always trying to make sure that they're utilizing it as efficiently as possible. So
Yes,
Thank
this is
you.
actually a lower cost application in some cases on the volume of air that it uses or needs to use for the suction that you're looking at. You're not having to crank up your regulator to create a higher flow in some cases. This one automatically already has that for you.
Okay, this is the second video here, Tim.
So again, this one's just showing you how quickly they can pick up the circuit board and move it around. So the next round is talks about glass handling and some of the composite materials. So the STGG talks about using thin glass for mobile phone glass, tablet glass, and the TFT screen glass. So you have a plan across here that basically disperses the flow through many holes throughout this plenum to be able to have a better suction force throughout the size of the product.
And here's the video.
This is going to be for the composites. We'll also show you eventually the array of how many SCGs you can put in to pick up a larger piece.
There, Tim, you can talk. I think it was a little loud.
So these are some applications we're going to see at customers where they're pulling out and maybe using composites, or this could be overlays in the automotive industry where they could be picking up carpet or inlays in the vehicles, or the underlaying of the roof of the where they'll be cutting pieces and then moving those over. This device can be used for those as a solution. So this is going to show you a larger array of how it can pick up larger parts. As it shows, you'll look underneath and you'll see multiples of these SCGs mounted. I think we can move to the next slide, the next video. So this device is more of it's like the STGG, but it's actually a wafer application that was created initially for the solar cell industry. So solar cells are very, very light, very brittle, very delicate handling is required for solar cell applications and any kind of silicon semiconductor type of applications also. So this kind of shows you how quickly, how well it actually picks and can move and hold these products. And the peak material in some of these is basically eliminates any type of particulate coming off. So the requirements typically are a 30% peak material that can be used for handling these types of product. And that's what this end effector is made with on the gripping side of that. So in kind of in closing, some of the cross-selling parts of this is being a specialty type gripper. There's very little competition out there with the major players that you would look for a crossover part comparison. So this is something as another solution where your customer might not have been able to use vacuum in the past. This is a gripper that can come in and give you and your customer a solution for picking up very highly porous or very light materials that need very delicate handling of the components. So basically, it's getting suitable for all high suction volume flow. And some of the key parts of this is it doesn't contain any movable parts. Again, and we talked about that previously. It makes a very low maintenance and immune to any issues. Again, being installed in any position, so it helps in the alignment of whatever the part that needs to be picked. These are all very positive selling points for this product, especially when you can come in and provide solutions where maybe your customer hasn't had one in the past. Key areas probably in your customer would be maintenance area for where they've had problem areas handling some of their components in the past, especially in a PCB manufacturer where they might not have had automative capabilities before because they haven't had something that could pick it. Having mechanical grippers can damage the parts, and vacuum again cups can create damage when it comes down and suction, and it sucks up too hard to the product in regard to the pinouts. So those are areas that could be problem areas that you can come in and provide a solution. And any of the mechanical engineers for new production line applications, again, for these same applications, whether it be PC board or for food industry, when you're picking up product, these cups and the suction force and the high flow of this allows for a very delicate handling of the product and removing direct handling of either cupcakes, cookies, even poultry, food parts. There could be wetted parts that can just still handle and pick up these, the product itself. So there's many areas there you might have thought about in the past that this is a potential product to can support your customers' requirements. And if anybody has any questions now, we'd like to open up the lines. Okay.
How about the IP rating, guys?
I'd have to throw that out to our engineering group. To tell you the truth, I don't know that off the top of my head. That would be something we could pull and get the information for you.
Thank you.
And looks like Randy Moore, you had a question?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I've got a customer who actually worked on this application a while using a Delta style robot to pick up cut chicken pieces. And I was going to ask the question and you touched on it right there towards the last. We're basically picking up boneless chicken breasts. They go through this water jet cutting machine. It cuts pieces to shape, and we right now typical processing plant will have half a dozen people there pulling those off and putting those into separate conveyors. We built a Delta robot, and we were trying the Aventix non-contact grippers. Did a nice job of picking it up, but when we tried to move sideways, it would fly it off like a frisbee. So it just wasn't a good application. But just wondering if you mentioned picking up meat product. This is a huge application I've been working on for quite a while, and that's the limiting factor right now is the gripper.
I think this is something that could work for you. So get with your regional sales manager, and they can then look at maybe giving you some samples to try out, and then determine what size of chicken pieces that you're trying to move, and get the right size product to you for testing.
Got you. But you believe the SCG is the right product to recommend there?
I think it can be. I mean, in every application, we have to, we would like to test it to ensure that.
Yeah. So,
Well, I think that is something that we found that could work for you.
okay, super. Well, I'll start that conversation. They're anxious to possibly have a robot at the poultry show next year that can pick up chicken pieces. So they would be really excited if we can come up with a working solution. So I'll get with my guy on our local specialist and get get some more information on it, see if we can get some demos set up.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Was that all, Mark?
Sorry, we have a question from Bill Boeski. Sorry, but your microphone is self-muted. Sorry about that. Oh, it says he also submitted here. The question is, how about air in treatment? Not sure what that means exactly.
I didn't hear that.
How about air in treatment? I'm not sure what that means exactly.
I'm not sure what that means either.
And then he also asked, do we need a cold scaling filters? Cold scaling?
Actually, it has such a high flow. If you look back at the center part of the SCG up there, that's actually your exhaust. So it can exhaust out whatever crumbs or other, potentially moisture parts can be discarded off. If they need to have that discarded, to a certain area, you can actually potentially attach a hose to that or some type of tubing to discard any type of waste. So handling and having filters for this is not really required because of the high flow, and it doesn't care as far as dirty environments or particulates or anything else to actually pick up the part.
Jordan had a question. Have you tested with filtration products? How does it handle small particles?
I mean, we're open to try anything. In regard to small foam pieces or filtration, this might actually be a solution for you for picking up any type of filtration application. So if that's something that we can look at, providing some samples for us to try and demonstrate for you on how it would work. We'd be very open to move forward in helping you with that.
And then Gary Gray has a question or comment.
I was just going to qualify that the consumption of the SCG is between 60 and 200 liters per minute. So the maximum usage that any one unit will do is 7 cubic feet per minute. In addition, the IP rating, since there is no electronics involved with this at all, it's essentially completely dust-free. You could say that it's IP67. But one thing is that the current units are not used for anything that requires a caustic washdown. We're talking about doing a stainless steel unit, but that one is not out yet. And that's just what I wanted to add into the conversation.
I think we've actually had some samples provided for stainless steel that were actually sent to Tyson Foods. So there is the ability to get a stainless steel application if needed at this time.
Thank you, Gary. For those of you that don't know, Gary Gray is also a regional sales manager here at Schmalz. So his help was great. I don't see any other questions. If anybody else has any questions, if you'd like to raise your hand. A couple questions. Randy Moore has a question. Randy, if you have a question, your microphone is self-muted, so your hand is up, but I can't open it. Okay, well, I was notified during the session here that the handout that's attached is incorrect. I'll replace that and send it to you guys, everybody that's been a participant. I have your emails, and I will send out an email correspondence to all of you, including that. And also I'll include the presentation that you've seen here today. It's also being recorded, so I'll send the link to that if you'd like to share it with any of your colleagues. If anybody else has any questions, if not, we'll go ahead and cut this off. There will be a survey that comes out also. One of the main things that we'd like to gather in that survey is if you have any recommendations for future sessions that you'd like to see, whether it's particular applications or a particular product or just an industry solution type that you're looking at and spend a lot of time in and would like to see what we have available. That information is collected in that survey, and it's some of the most valuable stuff we get from that. So we can serve up the stuff that you really do want to see. So with that, thank you very much, and goodbye. Tim, you want to say
Thanks,
goodbye?
everyone.